Let me move now to another issue where we can try to protect ourselves against some of these types of violations. Now remember, if you're a covered entity or if you're a business associate, you have primary liability for violation of HIPAA. Well, what does your business associate agreement say? I mean, if you're a covered entity, you say, hey, business associate, I want you to keep the information safe and sound, and you're not going to let it slip out. You're only going to use it for the purposes for which you're going to be using it, billing our services. I'd say that's what it is. Well, what happens if the business associate bungles and lets a laptop out, and all of a sudden there's this large liability? You know, if I'm the doctor, I'm going to say, hey, wait a minute, it's the business associate's fault. They're the ones who screwed up and let the laptop out of the barn. And it used to be before these new rules, so that's exactly right. Yeah, that's right. The covered entity didn't control the business associate. There was no agency relationship, principal and agent. So, the doctor's office would not be liable for the bad acts of the business associate. In 2013, with the omnibus, all that changed in that the rules now specifically say that if the business associate is acting as an agent of the covered entity, then under agency law, which basically says the principal is liable for the acts of the agent, under agency law, the covered entity is liable just as much as the business associate, even though it's the business associate's own fault. Well, how can we help mitigate that risk that you as a doctor's office is going to be considered to be liable for the business associate? The best way to do that is try to deny that there ever was an agency relationship to begin with. Now, this is a very fact-specific exercise. I mean, we can put in the business associate agreement that I'm the doctor's office, I'm the principal, you're the business associate, you're the agent, and you're not an agent. You know, you're just doing your own thing as an independent contractor. You screw up, it's on your dime. Well, just putting that in language in the agreement is not going to save you. There needs to be clear exercise of the business associate's activity outside the control of the covered entity. And that's kind of hard in a business associate agreement because under the business associate agreement, if the business associate has knowledge that there is some screw up with something or other, or I'll put it this way, if the business associate has to amend one of the records at the direction of the covered entity, which is a common business associate agreement clause, well, that in and of itself shows that the covered entity can direct the business associate to make the amendment within 30 days per the contract. And that direction alone and instruction alone could be sufficient to create an agency relationship, which means the liability flows back to the principal. It's kind of a gray area, and it's really a facts and circumstances analysis, but, you know, keep those things in mind as you draft your business associate agreements to try to keep yourself from taking on the liability of the business associate. We've talked a bit about, you know, what the enforcement provisions are, some of the business associate provisions, how those have been expanded. And I'm going to turn it now to Jason, who's going to talk a bit about what rights are available for individuals under the new law.